So that's something that wealthy people understand that quite frankly, poor people just don't get. It's holding them back. They're investing for accumulation. They're hoping that it's going to get to where they want to be by accumulating some random pile of money. Hopefully that will be enough for them. That's kind of their mindset. But the reality is nothing could be further from the truth. They're going to end up coming up short. And that one reason alone is why 97% of the people in this country are coming up short when it comes to their financial planning goals. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It is Chris with Life 180. In today's video, I want to talk to you about the 4 things that poor people do that rich people don't. Now, it's obviously there's probably a lot more than 4. These are the 4 that just kind of came to mind, top of mind to me, like when I was having a conversation with somebody, going through kind of a list of just habits and processes and just, you know, things really, mindsets that poor people, or I shouldn't even say poor people, it's things that are kind of holding people back, keeping them poor, keeping them from reaching the results in their life that they actually want to achieve. And the first thing, let's get right into this. The first thing that is actually holding people back, you know, that people are doing, keeping them poor, that rich people don't do, is actually not having a system to make decisions through. Now, let me explain that a little bit, because the biggest thing is that I find people are doing with their money that is holding them back is just, when I say not having a system, it means they're being reactive and they're making emotional decisions. You know, like one of the things I can tell you, every rule, every couple, every person should have kind of a set of rules that they implement around their money. And what may be good rules for you may not be good rules for me or my wife. For you and your spouse, it may be different. You may have a lot higher income or lower income than we have, and so therefore your rules would be different, right? Like I know somebody that makes, you know, $8 million a year, and he and his wife have rules coming into place where if a decision has to be made around something in the $5,000 range or above, they have to go through a certain process before making the decision to spend that money, save that money, invest that money, buy a purchase, make a major capital purchase or not. And whereas, you know, a $5,000 decision for a lower income family can be obviously a much bigger decision. You know, I would say that $5,000 number might come down into the couple $100 range, right? Like, because let's face it, your decisions around how you save and invest and manage your money is extremely important. You know, they always say it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that's going to make the difference in your life. And so that's the first thing, is making sure that you implement rules in your life. How are you saving? How are you investing? How are you making the decisions whether you can go out to dinner, how much you can spend when you go out to dinner, if you're going to go out to the movies, if you're going to take vacations, how are you going to pay for the vacations? Like, all these types of rules around all that are really important. And we're going to get more into that here as we go. So the second thing that I would say is holding people back is the idea of well, I'm not even going to say this is the second thing that poor people are doing that rich people simply don't do, is investing for accumulation. When I say that, investing for accumulation is simply the idea of the myth that we've been told, that people have kind of bought into, this whole buy and hold strategy, invest for the future. The younger you are, the more risk you can take. Put your money into a qualified account, give up control of that money, get into business with the government, allow them to tax potentially your wealth away from you, give up control of that money until you're 59 and a half. And ultimately, in doing so, hopefully the buy and hold mindset says that your money will accumulate to a lump sum of money sometime down the road in the future. But here's the bottom line. Wealthy people understand that we don't know what the economy and the variables and inflation and, you know, the economic environment is going to look like 30 years from now, right? 20 years from now, 15 years from now. We have no clue what that environment is going to look like. I mean, I just read an article today, Wall Street Journal, 6.2% inflation is what they're saying right now that we're at. Nobody could have ever anticipated last year that we were going to have 6.2% inflation. That is an extremely important variable that has an extremely high impact on your wealth potential and what you need your money to do for you to achieve the desired financial outcomes that you want to achieve in your life, right? And so when it comes to investing for cash flow and investing for accumulating assets that create cash flow is more important than investing for accumulation. Wealthy people understand that. They do that through real estate, they do that through businesses, they do that through other types of assets, even when they're buying stocks. Like Warren Buffett, he buys stocks, but Warren Buffett doesn't really buy stocks. He invests in companies, right? He goes out and he makes sure that when he's buying those companies, they're cash flow producing investments, right? That is a big part of his whole overall investment philosophy and strategy, right? And he's always looking for deals. He's always looking for opportunities. It's like one of the things quotes of his that I use a lot is, you got to make money when there's blood in the streets. He's a big believer in the fact that the market is cyclical. It's not linear. It has spikes and valleys, peaks and valleys. And it's during the valleys, during the downtimes, during the hardships for most people is when you need to be prepared to make the most opportunity in your life. And by investing for cash flow and saving first and foremost and keeping your money liquid, usable, accessible, controllable during those times, that way you can take advantage and invest properly when the time is right. That's a big thing. So that's something that wealthy people understand that quite frankly, poor people just don't get. It's holding them back. They're investing for accumulation. They're hoping that it's going to get to where they want to be by accumulating some random pile of money. Hopefully that will be enough for them. That's kind of their mindset. But the reality is nothing could be further from the truth. They're going to end up coming up short. And that one reason alone is why 97% of the people in this country are coming up short when it comes to their financial planning goals. That is it. So the third thing that, hopping right into number 3 here, I just made a quick transition, sorry. But the number 3 thing that poor people do, that wealthy people don't, is they take on toxic debt. Now, the Dave Ramseys and Susie Ormans of the world love to talk about how all debt is bad. I am not a believer in that philosophy. I think there's some really good debt and there's some really bad debt. Toxic debt would be consumer debt. Consumer debt from let's just call it credit card debt, right? The average household right now has over $12,000 in credit card debt. Think about that. $12,000 of credit card debt with an average interest rate of 18% is what's going on in this country right now. That is just a simple transfer of wealth from the middle class to the big financial institutions of the world, right? Wealthy people understand that you cannot take on toxic debt. Now, just to kind of reiterate that a little bit is, the idea of you leveraging good debt, like your mortgage, for instance, is not toxic debt. It's guaranteed, it's secured by an asset, and ultimately the cost of the money for a mortgage, I would finance a mortgage forever. I don't think you should ever pay your house off. That's just a personal belief, at least not in today's economic environment with the interest rates the way that they are and so on and so forth. You should finance your home as much as possible for as long as possible, whatever the bank will allow you to do, as long as your cash flow in your personal life and your business and your job and your income can sustain that cash flow. You want to be able to take the spread and the equity and the revenue, the equity and the cash, whatever you can, cash out, refi, and take that money and control that money and put it into an account, creating arbitrage. If you could pay 3% on your mortgage and earn 4% in a side account, that's control of that money, and you never know the opportunity that the control of that money will create for you. And that's another thing. Controlling money, wealthy people understand that by controlling that money, there's a huge amount of opportunity that comes along with that, and that opportunity can create wealth. You have to be disciplined with it, but it's a big deal. So the fourth thing that wealthy people understand that they don't do, that poor people are doing that is holding them back, is financing lifestyle. Now, lifestyle, this kind of is a piggyback on the last one a little bit, but it's not always necessarily, because people use toxic debt and credit cards for a lot of different things. But this is people who can't afford to go on vacation, people that can't afford, maybe a car that they should have. So maybe they slap their vacation on a credit card. Maybe they can't afford, maybe they shouldn't afford because they're making $40,000 a year. They shouldn't afford a $40,000 car, but somehow they come up with, they go to the dealership and they have a conversation with a slick salesperson, and that salesperson convinces them that, you know what, you make 40 grand a year, but you know what, you belong in this $40,000 car, and you may not feel you can afford it, but you know what? Because you deserve it, and because your family deserves it, and you need stability and stuff like that, you need a good, predictable, consistent car that you can rely on and depend on and not break down, and they try to sell you on all these things. They sell you on the fact that maybe you can afford a $700 car payment, right? And the problem is that's a lifestyle finance, and that especially, so first of all, that financial picture, even if you get a 0% interest rate, is just not smart from a cash flow perspective because you're buying a depreciating asset. Secondly, most people are not getting great interest rates in doing so. They're paying 5, 6, 7, 8% in interest rates to be able to access, and to be able to get that kind of that vehicle. So they're picking up extra interest expense. Now, the bottom line is it's not even the interest that matters in this context, it's the cash flow. It's the fact that you should never have depreciating assets and lifestyle expenses or finance your lifestyle expenses beyond what your means are, because there's extra costs that go along with that. Wealthy people understand this, and quite frankly, it's, wealthy people probably got to where they are because they were able and willing and capable of delaying gratification to get to that point in time. I'm a big believer. I love nice things. We have a beautiful house. I have a Jeep that I love, that I probably spent way more money on than most people, would be comfortable with aftermarket stuff and whatnot. And so I'm not saying you can't go enjoy stuff. We have a trailer that I buy and that I rent and I cash flow and we use as a family, and it's a great lifestyle thing, and my kids love it, and the camping and the lifestyle and the experiences, and you can't put, a value on that. But the bottom line is everything has a time. Everything has, an order in which you want to do it. I wanted that trailer years ago. I wanted my Jeep decades ago, right? I finally got my Jeep 4 years ago, right? But that is something that I worked for a long time. You know what I mean? And so what I would say is just make sure if you go through this and you set up rules, I'm going to kind of recap this a little bit for you, that if you set up rules in your life that you make your decisions through, and if you go out and you avoid toxic debt, right? And if you, stop financing lifestyle stuff, right? And you go out and you try to avoid the mindset of investing for accumulation, but you try to set yourself up and save to invest for cash flow assets. If you just do those 4 things and you implement some 4 simple changes in your life, it will make a dramatic impact in the results and how fast you can achieve the desired results in your life. So anyway, I hope that helps. I hope you found value in that video. If you did, please smash that like button. That way the YouTube algorithm gets it out there to people. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, click that bell. That way you get notified every single time we launch a new video. And that's it. Check out the playlist. If you want to have a conversation with anybody from Life 180, any of our endorsed cash flow hacking people, whether it's you're an agent and you're looking to build your business, or whether you are somebody who's looking to implement this strategy in your life, the cash flow hacking strategy in your life, because that's where freedom is. You need to implement and really think about cash flow hacking and investing for cash flow if you want to reach financial freedom faster. There's no other way around it, period. So if you're interested in talking with somebody, there's links in the description below. Go below, check it out. Look forward to talking to you soon. Have a blessed, inspirational day, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.